You're listening to Ideal Practice, episode number 139. Today, we're going to continue what we started last week with a closer look at the next 3 core principles or pillars of what I call the 7 pillars of an ideal practice. You need all of these. And this next batch, these are all about process, how you get paid, and how you promote your work. Yeah, juicy stuff today. And of course, I have a free download to help you with some of this. So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts-Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey guys, this is Wendy Pitts-Reeves, your host. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Ideal Practice Podcast. I want to get right into today's topic because there is a lot here to cover. Did you hear last week's episode? If not, you might want to go back and check that one out first. That was episode 138, because in that episode, I covered in some detail what I really feel are some of the foundational principles that every private practice needs to have in place in order to be successful and sustainable. So that's a really good place to start. If you have not heard that, I encourage you to go back and listen to that first. You might want to take some notes. Same thing for today. In today's episode, we're going to get a little bit more into the operational side of your practice as we dig into the next 3 core principles or pillars of this framework. Now, I do just want to say a really quick little side note. I am actually not planning to do an episode on the 7th and final core principle or pillar here, which is perspective. That is the mindset and the point of view that you bring to your work and to your role as a business owner. You guys know we talk about that all the time here on Ideal Practice, right? Because as you have heard me say, you can have all the strategy in the world going just great, but if your mindset is wonky, if your worldview, your point of view, your perspective is off, you will often self-sabotage. So I try to weave that into just about every episode that we have. So I'm not going to do a special segment on that. If you would like me to do one specifically on my point of view around all of that, I'm happy to do so. Just let me know and I will add it to the mix. But otherwise, I'm focusing on this batch that I got with you today. So now let's get into the 3 operational pillars of this framework: process, payment, and promotion. Now, when I taught these principles in my Evolve Mastermind, I want you to know that some of these turned out to be some of the hardest and most powerful aspects of everything we talked about, which, to be honest, was a bit of a surprise for me, actually. So it's kind of interesting, and that's why I think this is worth talking about with you guys. Just to put this in perspective, I was trying to think, like, how can I tell you about this? How can I kind of get this ball rolling? And I was thinking about what role have these 3 things: process, how you do your process is how you run your business. It's the operational side of your practice. It's what you do behind the scenes that makes the whole daggum thing work. Payment, well, you know what that's about. I will say I'm constantly thinking, should I call that profit? Because that is the piece we often miss. But I keep resisting that because the truth is there are 1,000 aspects all around the payment side of our practice that sort of touch on all kinds of things. I can't seem to get away from that word. So that's where I'm going to keep it here. And then promotion is how you promote what you do, how you talk about what you do, how you market your services. But it's so much more than that. Well, I was thinking about how can I, like, what's a little story I could tell you? And as I was thinking through how this has evolved in my own practice over the years, I had this flashback. And I remember the very first moment when I started to get overwhelmed, and it happened fast. So in the very beginning, I'm going to be dating myself here a little bit. When I started my practice, guys, in the early 90s, yes, I'm admitting that out loud. Yeah, we weren't doing things online back then, were we? Nope. Everything was on paper. Everything was done with a carbon copy. I literally had a receipt book that had carbon copies that I would use to give to my clients. I had a little notebook you could buy at the store that had spreadsheets in it that was like a column-based notebook. And I kept my client accounts in that notebook. And I was filing paper claims. I bought a packet of HCFA forms at the local office supply store, and I was sending those forms in manually, and I only did them once a month. At the end of the month, I would go back and fill out claims for everybody I had seen for the last month. That sounds so crazy to me now. Like I would no more do that than the man on the moon today. But that's what I was doing back then for lots of reasons. Partly because I didn't have better tools. Partly because I didn't like dealing with money at all. So I didn't really want to look at all that. Partly because I didn't know any better. But what I learned so fast was that you got in trouble pretty quickly because the claims didn't all get paid, right? I had a fully insurance-based practice at that point, and it was just a matter of a few months before I had claims that were being kicked back for one reason or the other. So my nice, neat system of doing 1 month at a time, of course, didn't work because I had to go back and do one that was from 2 months ago or 3 months ago or 6 months ago. And in no time at all, I got lost, got overwhelmed, hated the whole thing, stopped looking at it. And that was the beginning of how I started losing money. Yeah. So having systems in place at a minimum is important, but there's like a lot more than that here. So I want the process piece of this. You may not be a systems kind of person. A lot of healers, in my experience, tend to be creative, intuitive people who like the flow and the joy of feeling things as they move through their work. They are super intuitive. They just kind of do what they feel like doing in the moment, and they figure it out as they go. Not everybody does that. Some of you are a little bit the opposite end of that spectrum, but a lot of folks tend to be that way. And as I just shared, when you're first getting started, that's fine. And even if you have just a real basic sort of rudimentary, keeping a list, a spreadsheet in Google of who you're seeing and what they owe you, that's fine. But it doesn't take long as your practice grows, as your business evolves, to lose a lot of that. And you may find that as your calendar fills up, things start to fall apart. And not just around the payment side of it. I come back to that because it's such an easy example, but there's a lot of ways that this can impact you. We're going to talk about all that. At a bare minimum, without a healthy version of these 3 pillars in place, you'll be run over by your practice, and you could actually be losing money in all kinds of ways. We'll talk about some of that as we go. But at the worst, you'll be at serious risk for burnout. And what I see that breaks my heart is therapists get into this. They reach a fairly decent level of success fairly early on because they're good at what they do and word gets out and people come. But if you don't have these parts of your practice running strongly, you'll get overwhelmed. You are very much at risk for burnout. And what happens sometimes is people give up and they say, private practice isn't for me. I just as soon work for somebody else, let somebody else handle all that. But y'all, that is so not true. This is just part of the skill set that you have to learn. This is part of learning how to be a business owner, and it's worth learning how to do. So we're going to take these one at a time and go a little bit slow about all this, okay? I don't want you to get overwhelmed, but I am going to kind of help you at least get a sense of what I mean by all this. Now, before I get into the details, I want to remind you about the tool that I mentioned last week, which is the Ideal Practice Scorecard, the IP360. This is a self-assessment tool that I've created to help you get a sense of where your practice is on all 7 of these pillars, where you are healthy and strong, where you might need a little bit of work. It's a really good, easy way of getting an overview of your practice right off the bat. If you have not downloaded that, or if you have, but it's been a while since you've done it and you want to try it again just to kind of see where you are now, you can get your free copy at my website, wendypittsreeves.com/3 360, 360. Okay? So if you haven't done that, I encourage you to go check that out because that is just a simple, it's just such a nice, easy way to look at all of this quickly. All right, now let's get into today's content. I want to dig into some of this. I'm going to start with pillar number 4, which is process. So the core principle of pillar number 4 means that you have developed a clear and effective series of habits, systems, and boundaries that in total just make life easier for you, also for your team if you have one, and for your clients. And as a result, when you have this in place, business is more enjoyable and profitable for you. Let me repeat that. You have developed clear and effective habits, systems, boundaries that make life easier for you, your team, and your clients. And as a result, that's why this matters, business is more enjoyable. It's more fun and easy, I would say, and profitable for you. This is the part that's easy to get sort of bogged down in. So without a strong process, without strong habits, systems, and boundaries in place in your practice, you may find that you may find that you're feeling like you've kind of lost control over your schedule and you're working all hours of the day and night just to keep up. Your relationships, your own personal health and sense of well-being may actually suffer. You may find yourself struggling to stay on top of critical tasks like being ready for your taxes, getting paid, answering client calls, or just keeping up with your daily notes. You may find that you forget all that. You don't find time to seek inspiration, to get creative, to try out new ideas. And without that, your business may become stagnant or routine. It starts to lose that sense of joy that you had. Remember that? And you don't always think about this, but without these aspects of your practice being in place, you're never going to be able to scale. And there may come a time for some of you when that matters. On the other hand, when you do have a healthy process in place, the behind-the-scenes way that you run your business, many of the ongoing tasks around client management are not only simplified, they are often animated, which means it takes little to none of your time. You will find that marketing becomes another sort of standardized part of your practice that's easier to implement, easier to track, and I know this sounds crazy, but actually easier to enjoy. You will find that you don't have to worry anymore about losing important records or getting behind on your notes because you have a digital and an analog filing system that works for you. One of the most popular episodes I've done was when I did a whole walkthrough of how I have organized my Google Drive. I don't even remember what that episode was. I'll see if I can find that and link that in the show notes. But like getting your digital house in order and your literal physical office in order, you'd be amazed at what a difference that makes in your sense of energy, of the energy that frees up. Essentially, when you get this stuff figured out, life is all around just flat easier. Easier for you, easier for your clients. And you know what that means? That means a higher level of client satisfaction. That means a higher level of client retention. And that's going to mean more referrals. It's all tied together. So what do I mean when I talk about tending to the process side of your private practice? At a bare minimum, I mean learning how to systematize the small, repeatable tasks that occur as part of your everyday business, okay? It can mean having clear expectations around how and when you collect payment, how and when you update your records, how and when you manage the back end of your practice. It means protecting your energy with clear boundaries around your time, your client time, your admin time, your non-work time. It means putting systems in place that free up time for the bigger, more important task that you'd rather be doing anyway. And I'll tell you a quick way to think about this is look at each aspect or each phase of your client's journey with you. Look for ways to make that easier. Now, I'm not going to go into all this because it's way too much, but in my Evolve Mastermind, in the course, I go into some detail about this because I think people underestimate all the different ways that this can just make life better for you. So I talk about the client phases, which in my way of thinking, there's 5 of them. It's the attraction phase, when you are attracting potential clients into your universe. It's the selection phase, when they select you as someone they are curious about and want to engage with in some way. It's the connection phase, which is when they hire you and begin working with you, or they're ready to pay you. The expansion phase, which is when all different ways that you can serve them at a higher level. And then the completion phase, when they wrap up their work with you. If they do, some don't. Some stay on for, become sort of those sort of lovely clients that pop in and out over time. There are lots of aspects to each one of those phases of a client's journey where you can look for ways to input systems, a process, a repeatable, manageable, often automated process that's going to make life better for you. So that's a pillar that is worth spending some time on, and that will constantly be evolving for you. And for those of you who find yourself, like this really was one of the ones that overwhelmed people the most when I've taught this to my mastermind. And I was surprised at that, actually, but it was helpful for me to see that, because what I learned from that is I just want to help people, Wendy. I just want to provide my Reiki. I just want to do my massages. I just want to sit down and talk with them. I just want to help them learn how art therapy can help them feel better. I don't want to do all that. I don't have time to do this. You do have time to do this, because that's part of the structure you put in place to make sure you have time to do this. And structure in your business, guys, I'm just going to tell you right here, structure in your business is the key to freedom in your life. Healthy structure in your business is the key to freedom in your life. All right, so that's pillar number 4 that I wanted to introduce to you. Pillar number 5. And guys, we talk about all of these on this podcast all the time. So all you have to do is flip through the episodes. We really do dive into all of these at different times. So don't get too discouraged about all that. There's lots of ways I like to teach you all of this. Pillar number 5 is payment. And the core principle of pillar number 5 is that when you have this in place in a good way, you have a healthy pricing structure and healthy payment system that accurately reflects the results that you deliver, the value that you bring, and you do it in a way that is easy for clients to manage, and you do it in a way that pays your desired salary. Yeah, there you go. We forget about that part, don't we? Yeah. Yeah, when I talk about being profit-centered, people-forward, profit-centered means that you are treating money with respect and that you are making sure that your business is financially healthy. If you're not doing that, you don't have a business that's going to last. It means that you have included in your systems, in your process, easy ways to get paid, and get paid in a regular way, and get paid in a way that does not take a bunch of your energy. It means that your pricing, as I said, accurately reflects your value and the results that you help people get. I'll talk to you a little bit more about that in a minute. More than anything, it means developing a healthy relationship with money overall. Now, this was another thing that I learned, not for myself, but when I started teaching you guys about this, as I've worked with my clients and as I've taught this in my courses, what surprised me was, everybody needs a little help around the system of payment. That there are lots of ways that you guys are shooting yourself in the foot in how you get paid. And even last night I was at an open house and I had a conversation with a couple of folks where I was like, yep, there's an opportunity here to clean this up so that the payment piece is easier. But more than anything, what it often comes down to is how you think about money and what your personal relationship is to money, which is why we talk about that so much here. This has been a part of my own personal journey. I ain't preaching anything here that I haven't had to learn the hard way myself, guys. But what I would suggest for you as just a simple way to kind of ease into working on this particular aspect of your practice is to think about your money story. And in particular, I want you to think about your personal money story and your professional. So I have two questions I want to ask you. In terms of your personal money story, this would be a great thing to spend some time in your journal on. What was your experience related to money when you were growing up? Was there plenty of it? Was there never enough of it? Was it something that was talked about openly? Was it something that was kept in sort of in the dark? Was it something that there was a lot of tension and anger around? Was it something that was sort of haphazard and scattered? What was your experience related to money growing up? And then the second question I want to ask you is, what beliefs might have been created for you as a result of that experience? Now, this in itself is not necessarily a new idea. If you may have often heard others talk about this as well. It is worth it to spend some time thinking about what you learned about money growing up, what the attitudes were about it, what the energy was about it, what the emotions were about it, and literally how you were taught to manage it or not. And thinking about how does that impact you today? That is certainly worth thinking about. What beliefs may have been created as a result? But the second part of this that I don't think we talk about so much is your professional money story. What were you taught about money, if anything, during your professional training? Was it ever addressed at all? Was it addressed in a way that seemed healthy and supportive? Was it addressed in a way as something that was a moment? Was there a lot of shame and guilt built into it? Did anybody even teach you how to think about this as a professional in your field of service? What were you taught about money, if anything, either overtly or directly or indirectly in your professional training? And part two, what beliefs may have been created as a result? We could have a whole conversation about that, couldn't we? Yes, we could. And I often have with people. So here's where I want you to go with that. Once you think about your personal money story and the beliefs that may have come from that, your professional money story and the beliefs you may have inherited, I'm going to say inherited from that, because it takes a while to realize and think about what you want your own beliefs to be. But once you think about that, what's the result? How do you think your answers to those questions are impacting your success as a private practice owner? You may not know. You may have a sense of it, but perhaps you haven't given this as much thought as you could. Perhaps you have given it some thought, but it's so uncomfortable you don't really want to look at it. If there was one thing I would invite you to do that I think could make probably one of the biggest differences for you as a business owner, it would be to engage with these questions. What has been your personal and your professional money story, and how is that impacting your success as a private practice owner? When I taught this is like, it's just, it brings up a lot of stuff. So I want to just sort of give you a hug in advance because this can stir up some things for people. But it's so good once you begin to see it, because as you guys know, the first key to changing anything in our life or in our work is just recognizing the patterns that are in place. And this is just a pattern that once you see it, you can choose what you want to do about it. Now, I will give you one little strategic thing here related to this the fifth pillar of payment. One of the things that I also see people struggling with is their pricing. How do you decide what to charge at all? When do you raise your rates at all? Like all the things around what do you charge? And I do have a little tool for that. I did a whole episode on that back in the day. I think it was episode 8, if I remember right. It was right back at the beginning. I'll see if I can find that and link that below. But I do have a little worksheet that I developed that can help you with this. It's called What Should I Charge? It's an ideal practice pricing worksheet. So I do want to give you that. That's a free download that you can use that can help you kind of think through this perhaps in a new way. And the easy way to get that is just go to my website, wendypittsreeves.com/pricing. wendypittsreeves.com/pricing. Go get that. It's totally free. Download that. I think it's fairly self-explanatory. Work through that and see if that doesn't help you see your pricing in a new light. And you might want to go back and check out episode number 8. I haven't listened to it in a long time, but I know I went over that in some detail back then. All right, let's move on to pillar number 6. And this one is promotion. Now, the core principle of pillar number 6 is this. When you have this in place and it is solid and strong, this is what you would be able to say, that with a clear and compelling message, you have identified and are implementing specific marketing strategies that work with your strengths. They invite potential clients into relationship, and the result in increased sales. There's 3 parts of that. Did you capture that? They work with your strengths. If your strength is audio, maybe that's what you're using. If your strength is that you have a visually compelling presence on camera, maybe video is your way. If you're a really good writer, maybe it's blogging or course development or social media. Maybe you're a good speaker. Maybe it's getting out in front of people in real life, 3D. There's lots of ways to connect with people. And actually, we all need sort of a mix of things. But whatever your particular strengths are, I want you to lean into that. And the whole point of a good promotion strategy is that you are inviting clients into relationship with you. And all of it ultimately should lead to increased sales for your business, because that's what you're doing, right? You're making money here to help people. So there you go. So why does this matter? Why should you care about this, especially if you've got a really full practice already? Oh, Wendy, why do I care about all this? Well, because I want you to understand the path that your people follow as they develop a relationship with you, because they start way out on the edges. And over time, you want them to shift from a distant fan, or maybe just a distant curious person who's kind of curious about what you're up to an engaged favorite, an engaged raging fan. That's helping them make that transition is how you grow a practice that is intentional, predictable, and profitable. This is about so much more than so-called advertising, guys. That's not what I'm talking about. In fact, in a few weeks, we've got coming up sometime in the next few weeks, I'm going to do an interview with one of my outstanding, awesome star students, one of my clients, who once she got this stuff figured out, her entire practice really transformed in a way that was just so much fun to watch. She had higher earnings. She had clients who were much more aligned with her personal interests and her values. And it all came because she found a refreshing way to show up as herself in all of the different promotional activities that she did. So getting this right really does make everything just better in so many ways. So let me just ask you a couple of things real quick to kind of help you think about this. First of all, how are you getting clients now? Where do they come from? How do they find out about you? What is it that draws them to you? What makes them decide to reach out to you at all? And from there, what makes them decide to say yes and actually work with you? Each of those are phases of a client's journey with you. And each of those is an opportunity for you to promote your service, the way you help, the transformation that you offer, the results that you deliver. It's a way for you to promote your expertise. It's a way for you to promote how and why you are the right person for them. So each of those aspects of the client journey all contain within them not only an opportunity for a system, for a process, which we talked about a moment ago, but also an opportunity to engage through the promotion activities that you have there. So if you, just a real quick walkthrough of this sort of, I already mentioned the client phases a minute ago, but think about them from when they're not even aware of you to when they are aware of you. What do you do then? You are inviting them in a little closer and you are beginning to educate them in some way. What about when they shift from being aware of you to actually interacting with you, which, by the way, takes courage on their part? Well, there, you've got an opportunity to entice them to come closer and to excite them about the work that you could do together. What about when they move from just interacting with you, which could be something as simple as an email, or maybe they click on a post that you've got on LinkedIn, to actually paying you? Well, now you've got a chance to engage with them and to serve them. And what about when they shift from not just paying you, not just engaging with you, working with you, but now they love you so much that they are a raving fan and they talk to other people about you? That's when you have a chance to elevate them and to celebrate the work that you've done together, to celebrate that relationship. And when they shift from not just being a fan of yours, but to becoming an ambassador of yours, to telling other people about you, at that point, you've got a chance to promote through them and to preserve that relationship in an even more beautiful way. So every part of that relationship development is an opportunity for you to promote in some way the good work that you do and the good people that you want to serve. So what could you do in the next 90 days that would make that a slightly more predictable path for your clients to follow? That's a big question. I'm not going to expect you to be able to answer that quickly and easily. There's really quite a bit to all of this, but I just want to put it out there for you to start playing with a little bit. Just start playing with this. These are the kind of things you are going to think about, that you're going to be working on throughout the time that you own a practice. You don't ever finish any of this. You are constantly adjusting, tweaking, learning, experimenting. But all of these areas that I've gone into today, having a healthy relationship with each one of these pillars and constantly thinking about how can I make this better in my practice is never going to be wasted time for you. It's always going to make your practice stronger, healthier, more enjoyable, more sustainable, more profitable. That's a win-win for everybody. So I started out by telling you about how back in the day I was doing keeping my client accounts in that 7-column notebook that I bought at Walmart, whatever it was, and my little receipt book with the carbon copies in it. Yeah, I don't do any of that anymore, obviously. But not only that, I don't do hardly any of that anymore because my clients, all of them pay as they come. They either pay me in advance or they pay they pay in advance or the day they come. And the record keeping is remarkably simple and clean. It's just, it's a whole different world. And I do now have everything that I can automate is automated. I have a VA who has helped me set up systems so that the level of interaction that is required on my part is at a minimum, so that the part that I do actually engage with my clients is the part where I shine. It's the actual work itself. That's how it should be. I don't need to be involved in all those administrative things. I've got systems in place for that. But the work itself, that's as juicy as it's ever been and as much fun as it's ever been. Maybe even more so. So that's what it looks like when you have a practice that is running well in each one of these areas, from the process you have to the way you get paid or how you think about getting paid and to how you promote your work. All right. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. Don't forget to go back and get that worksheet about pricing if you would like to sort of take a fresh look at how you set your rates. Again, you can get that at wendypittsreeves.com/pricing. Go get that for yourself. It's totally free. And I'm always eager to hear from you what you think about it. Through a link in the show notes, there is a text link that you can click on that will text me. I can't respond to you directly through that. I will have to respond to you here on the air. But you are welcome to send me a note that way. Or I'm always open to emails. Find me on social media. You know how to find me. I love hearing from you guys. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me what you're learning about this. And let me know if I can help you. All right, everybody, have a great week. Thank you so much for tuning in here and for listening. I hope this has been helpful, and I will see you next time right here on the Ideal Practice Podcast. Bye now. Hey, y'all. If this program has become important to you, if Ideal Practice matters, it would mean so much to me if you'd be willing to take just a minute to do one or two of the following things. First of all, would you follow or subscribe to the show here at Ideal Practice? Following me helps you because you'll never miss an episode, but it helps me as well for all kinds of reasons. To do that, all you have to do is go to the show page for Ideal Practice on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. There, just click on the plus sign that you'll usually find in the top right-hand corner, or click on the word follow that you're going to find somewhere there on that page. Of all the things, this really is the most important thing you can do for the podcast itself. While you're there, it would be extra special if you would be willing to give me a 5-star rating, and even better than that, a review with your own words. Your words matter. And when you write what you feel, what you think, you uplift and encourage others. And I love that. If you want to go a step further than that, take your favorite episode or two, one of the ones that has meant a lot to you, and share it with a friend. Could you do one or two of those things for me? I promise I will love you forever. You guys matter to me, and I value your support more than I can possibly say. Thank you, sweet friend, for anything you can do to help me out and support the show. I'll see you again soon.